Welcome back to the 990 podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the 990 podcast. I'm Ray.
And I am Jay.
Man, it's been a long week.
It has been a very, very long week, my friend.
You want to talk about that real quick?
Man, where do I begin, dude? Honestly,
That sounds long.
Yeah, I just been working. It's been quite a few days straight now with my first day off. So happy to have the day off, but my brain is fried. Physically, mentally, pretty exhausted this week, dude.
Yeah, what do you do to just decompress after a long time?
It's kind of funny because truthfully, I just veg out. I really do. I'll crack a beer and I don't even finish the beer.
Just once a
Yeah, no, I'm like, I have like this grand idea on my time off that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just have a couple beers, we'll catch up on some movies or some TV, and then before you know it, like I'm like waking up. I'm waking up and it's like 3-4 in the morning, and I'm like, where am I?
Yeah.
Always on the couch, cold, freezing,
Yeah.
dog staring at me like, why are we not in bed already?
Yeah.
Of course, Tristan's already sleeping, tucked in,
Yeah.
everything. But me, I'm always like just out in the wild, like I have no idea what's going on. That happens weekly, but
Is that similar to how you would decompress back in the day?
back in the day, I think believe it or not, and this is gonna be funny, but decompressing for me would usually involve spending time with people back in the day. Like I was like,
Wow,
oh man,
okay.
I've been working, I want to go have fun now. No
Yes,
matter
yeah,
how
yeah.
tired I am, I want to go have
Yeah.
fun, right? Now the idea of just spending time with people exhausts me. I'll be honest, man. I'm full on old man style. I get home, I'll crack a beer, turn on the TV, and I'll be out. And as odd as that sounds, it's really relaxing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how healthy that is, but it's definitely usually the way I start my days off.
Yeah.
The night before, I'll probably just do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's
Yourself?
up? Myself, just to decompress. I mean, well, this week was just busy with paperwork. I say that like I do a lot, but it's really Joss. That's the one.
Yeah.
We had to grab our passports for Zozo.
Got it.
Because we're traveling pretty soon, and we're stoked about that. But along with that, there was just other things with work and business stuff. So, I mean, not too crazy, but just it's a good busy where you want to be occupied but not stressed out.
Absolutely.
Of course, we can have that all the time, but I'll try to balance it out. To decompress, bro, I've hardly been watching TV these days or shows. I'm kind of slowing down on the movie list, but which I'll probably get back on because I've seen that Oppenheimer's back on theaters.
It is for a limited time. I know you can rent it at this point.
But it's like everyone that I know, they say, or comments, I guess, say to see it on IMAX.
Yes, definitely. That's the way to do it.
I'm going to try, hopefully, this week or the next. But anyway, we are back on the pod, and it's just nice to kind of hang down, wind down, grab some drinks and whatnot. But today, folks, we're going to be going a little bit deeper into who we are. So if you guys are listening, this episode is just going to be us getting to know each other a little bit deeper on a deeper level, I guess. Not too deep, just being friends. That's all it is.
There you go.
But yeah, we're just gonna get into it. So yeah, first question, Jayo.
All right, man.
I just want to throw out to you. Where are you from?
Where am I from?
If you haven't listened to the podcast, this podcast is for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
In knowing us. Yeah.
Where am I from? I'm originally from Kailua Kona on the Big Island. So born and raised there. Lived there all the way up until I graduated high school. Then I went over to Oregon, University of Oregon, where I went to school and graduated from. And then from there moved back to Oahu rather than the Big Island, and mainly just because job opportunities and whatnot. But I've been there since, so Oahu's pretty much home now, to be honest with you. I have very fond memories of the Big Island, but at this point I've lived in Oahu longer than I did the Big Island.
What would life look like if you went back home to Big Island?
It's a good question. I mean, industry-wise, you can definitely make a living out there, but primarily it's service industry. Construction's real heavy out there.
Is it?
There's certain industries like fishing and whatnot, but for the most part, the things that I was into and the things that I eventually got into as far as career-wise, I wouldn't have had much of a market. I think I probably would have ended up potentially in the hotel industry if I had lived out there. But I couldn't see the trajectory that I had in Oahu that I would have had back on the Big Island. But it's a great place, man. Honestly, amazing place to raise kids, amazing place to retire.
Yeah.
And not shooting down anybody that's there. That's my age, but I also feel like I had a really good opportunity to kind of see a little bit more of the world by just kind of spending some time off of the island. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of just broadened my horizons a bit.
Yeah, I think I think it's good for people to explore. Just because if you're living in one particular area, you kind of just have that mentality of whatever this place has brought you up to be. I don't know, like, have you ever thought about staying on the mainland?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a question that I kind of had to like toss back and forth for a while after I graduated. So I ended up staying in Oregon after I graduated, just for about a year or so, and that's kind of when I decided that I wanted to come home. But there's been talks of me going to California, to Colorado. Now that I'm married with Tristan, I think Colorado was probably the biggest option for us, the best option for us, mainly because of family being up there.
Yeah.
And there was some really serious talks about that prior to us, purchasing the home here. But
okay.
Now that we got the home, I think Mililani is going to be it for a minute.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes from here.
Trojans.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Let's see here. Are you an avid reader?
No, the listener these days.
Yeah, okay.
Listener these days.
I was going to ask you, have you read or listened to anything lately that's been thought provoking?
Yeah, well, I think I can count the books that I've read with my hands.
Oh, hey, okay.
Chamber of Secrets, which is
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
What's that? Narnia. I feel like I read the whole series.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Chronicles of Narnia, which is super good. I think that level of writing for me when I read it back in I think I was in like a senior or freshman, something like that. But I just felt like it was super easy to understand for me. I'm not like, sometimes I think maybe why I don't like reading books is because sometimes there's lots of words that I can't really, or I don't know, then I have to go look it up.
Sure.
Either that, or I just rather be spending time playing games or something.
Hey, man, I get it.
Those are some of the books that I've read. There's a few other more, but now I've been listening to Audible and more like audiobooks.
Gotcha.
And it's more business catered stuff.
Okay.
But I think one that I mentioned recently was The Wager, which is by what's his name, Christopher Mann or something. I forget his.
You said that's the person that wrote Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's super good. I don't know, these days, I guess my hobbies change, and I wish I read more books when I was younger. Joe, what I didn't realize was that people have different speeds of reading.
Absolutely.
I had no idea.
No, for sure.
Until I met Joss.
Yeah. Does she read quickly?
She reads super quick. Yeah, but I didn't know that was a thing. Because in my mind, this is what I'm reading, this is what I'm understanding.
Right.
Yeah, but I didn't know. And I guess when I heard people reading books like, 2 books a week, I'm like, what in the world? I take like 3 weeks or a month to read like a book.
Well, what's interesting about like just books in general, I mean, you look at like when things get interpreted into television or film, right? Movies, you're seeing a very singular idea of what the original author wanted to portray, right? As far as, characters, as far as, like the scenes, the environment, the locations, all of these different details, right?
Right.
Whereas when you're reading something, it's up to the reader
to
interpret these things. So that's always interesting. That is definitely fascinating. I don't know if I'm just lazy.
That might be my case.
But you know what? There are times where I'll be honest with you, like I'll know the source material and then I'll watch a film, and I'd be like, I wouldn't have done it that way, or like maybe I would have cast somebody different, or maybe I in my head this is what this person looks like or dressed like or whatever, so there is definitely merit to that, and just like you, I feel like there's a lot more reading that I should be doing as well.
I think one thing I do wish too as well when I was reading or growing up reading is I wish I tapped more into my imagination
Yeah.
and how I play things out as I
Sure,
read things.
sure.
I think I was just too focused on like the story, but I didn't really imagine it in my head.
You remember Choose Your Own Adventure? Remember those books?
No.
Oh, dude. Old school books. I don't know if they still make them, but basically it was like one of these things where you start a story and then it gives you a choice. Like if you choose this, turn to page this. If you choose this, turn to page that. Keep reading kind of thing. And it would allow you to have a different ending depending on the route you chose. So it really was up to the reader to kind of decide.
Yeah. Didn't Netflix do a show like that?
They did. I think Bender's... it was a Black Mirror episode.
Black Mirror episode, right?
Bander something. I didn't watch it, but I know that it's out there on Netflix. Yeah,
dude, I watched the first. Side note, I watched one of the first ones. I was like, I don't think I can watch that.
Really?
Yeah, it was
too intense.
Kind of dark. Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of yeah.
I mean, yeah, we won't get into it, but but what do you call for books? One book that has influenced or kind of changed my perspective on things was one of the questions that I have in my faith, which was healings. Okay. And so for myself, Jo, to give a backstory, it's to me, sometimes I'm kind of like not a second guesser, but the older I got, the more logical I became, and the more I wouldn't say I needed evidence, but I think I needed more faith in terms of, as things progressed.
Yeah.
But there's this book called The Case for Miracles. It's by Lee Strobel. And he interviewed one person who was a Christian. And then he did his own book gathering all the people that he's talked to or interviewed around the world. With the miracles or the healings that they had. And the reason why it was so it was big to me was because I always hear healings from like the church with like limbs growing or cancer being healed and all that stuff. And I do believe it, but for this case, there's a record of it.
I see.
And there's it's listed down as these are real people. And so this is kind of like my logical evidence for me.
Okay.
And so that really opened up, that really changed my faith or made it grow bigger. And it's not just like random healings. Each chapter has a specific body part or eyesight or whatever it is. And there's some that have like evidence on tape and on audio tape. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. So for me, that was one book that really changed my perspective on faith on stuff. Yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah,
yeah. For you, bro, I got who has made the most influence in your life?
Who has made
the most influence in your life?
Ooh,
yeah. That's probably a tough one too.
That's a tough one. I mean, different people at different times. I think growing up, my mom influenced me the most. I'm a mama's boy, definitely, and I think that a lot of my mom's tendencies I inherited. And I think she's a very just extraordinary person. She's highly intelligent. Very artistic. Very worldly. She's got so much knowledge. She's an educator, and my mom is just such a great, amazing, fascinating person. She's a very sensitive person. I definitely inherited that from her. She can be very stubborn, when very strong-willed. So when she wants her way, she'll get it or find a way to get it. My mom tends to be argumentative as well. So, there are times where I'll come across a little bit stronger than people are used to me being, and that's kind of my mom coming out, I feel like. But there's always like positive intent behind it. I don't feel like my mom ever comes from a malicious place.
Oh yeah,
she tends to fight for what she believes in, especially when she really believes something is right or true.
Yeah.
So these are all things that I think I inherited on from my mom very early. Later in life, interesting enough, kind of in my dad era now, which is interesting because my dad was my best friend growing up.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
man.
cool, bro.
Yeah,
you don't find much people saying that these days.
Yeah. Like it's funny because and it's like my parents just influenced me both so heavily. But again, early on in life, my mom. But as I get older, I'm realizing that there's so many things that my dad possesses that I want to kind of emulate.
Wow.
A lot of it is with his temperament. The way he approaches the world is just amazing.
Yeah.
He's very even tempered. It takes so much to get my dad rattled. Like even things that would set most people off doesn't even register with him.
Yeah.
And again, I probably said this before. People might think that he's passive, but he's not. He's such a strong person. I think it's because he's so strong,
Yeah.
and so secure in who he is.
That's crazy.
He can kind of just be chill about things, like
Yeah,
things
yeah.
don't bother him.
Yeah.
And there are times when I'll get so worked up about things, whether it's with work, friendships, just money, relationships, anything like that. And then I just need to put things in perspective. And I always just think about my dad, about how he handles things, and what he would do in a situation. Some of the words that he would tell me, as far as like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. And that's it seems so simple to say, like it's not that big of a deal, but really,
Yeah.
like. Things that we work up so much in our head, when you really put it in perspective, you're like,
I love that. Yeah, for sure.
It's not that big of a deal, And I think, my dad's always had family first, so that's something that I really, really look to now that I get older. I'm trying, I'm definitely never going to be, I don't know if I'll ever get to the level that he's at with his compassion and empathy, but I definitely try. And then if I had to say the person that influences me the most as of late, it's my wife. I've talked about this at length, but Tristan definitely, I mean, sounds corny to say like someone that makes you complete, but she does. I think that I never realized that I was an incomplete person until you kind of find somebody that really just puts the puzzle together for you, and I'll leave it at that. I could go in depth about how much I love her, but really, like, I think she's probably been the best influence for me.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, super heavy.
Deep dive.
Deep dive. But yeah, man, definitely. So my family, those
That's
are the people that
awesome.
influenced me. Yeah. For you, my friend, what goals are you currently pursuing?
Goals. Oh man. So I have this goal to, I don't know if I want to say the full thing, but essentially I'll say this is to make money.
Yeah. Hey.
Right now.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. Every time I hear conversation around making money, a lot of the audience will have this preconceived notion that you're that kind of person, or
Right.
this type of person,
Right.
whatever it may be. But for me, I realize that now, which that was my perspective back in the day. But now I'm realizing, with work and, just having several different jobs here and there and progressing, it's like, I want to make money, but for the purposes of keeping my family comfortable, in a sense. Comfortable, and I say that because I don't want Zozo to grow up thinking that everything's free, or
Sure.
you know what I mean.
Sure.
And so there's balances on that.
Yeah.
But that's one of my goals, man, to make money and to do it in a way where it helps people and businesses. Like I just want to do it the right way.
Yep.
And sometimes that's hard because you have to have that conversation with your budget and whatever it is,
for
right?
sure.
When you're talking to a client.
Yeah.
Because for me, if I was given a ton of money, I'd just be going up helping people, like hooking the friends up,
Right,
buying
right.
them cars or whatever. Like that's my joy. That's one of my biggest joys. Or just seeing people like happy and stoked for others. It just makes me happy in a
There you
sense. But that's one of my biggest goals right now.
I like it.
How about you, bro? Anything right now?
Goal right now, honestly, I wanna get back. I want to get my work-life balance back. I was on that. I was doing really well for a minute, and I feel like there have been times where I just got a little bit off kilter. I love my job, I love what I do. I love the people that I work with, but at the same time, I do need to unplug from time to time. I think this week was an example where, again, it doesn't happen often, but I think I put the needs of my work before my own personal needs.
Yeah.
Which is good in the sense that now I have a few days to kind of decompress and jump back in it. But when I get back in it, I hope to hit a reset and just kind of, again, realize what my schedule is, do everything I can within that schedule, and then just peace out. You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of been a goal of mine. And you know, it's easier said than done, right?
Oh yeah,
especially when you're passionate about something, especially when you are a completionist the way that I am.
Yeah,
I can't leave something on the table, but sometimes you got to just realize, hey, it'll be here tomorrow, you know.
Let me ask you a question, Jay.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
How hard is it for you to say no?
Getting easier in my older age. When I was younger, because I tend to be a people pleaser, it was very difficult. Especially in a professional setting, right, where you always feel like you want to put your best foot forward, and if you say no, that could be a negative thing. But sometimes there's power in saying no, right? It honestly, especially if you are known to be the agreeable type.
Yeah,
you know, I think if you throw a little no in there every once in a while, kind of people are like, oh, okay, that'll up your stock. You're like, oh, okay, gotcha. You know, and then and I hate to say it this way, but then you know, then people won't look at you like you can be walked on. You know, like you don't want to be looked at as a doormat. A lot of times people will be like, oh, you know, so-and-so is such an awesome person. They'll do whatever I ask them to do. But do you really respect them if you're asking them to do everything?
Yeah.
You know, just because somebody's dependable, trustworthy, or loyal doesn't mean that you should take advantage of that situation.
I know. The older I got, I realized that. And one of the core things that I took with that, with saying yes or no, is if you say yes to something, you're saying no to another thing.
Oh, 1,000%. So, that's very good, actually.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked is because, sometimes, work can ask us to do things, and you, like you said, you want to put your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
But then sometimes you just gotta instead of putting forward, you gotta put it down.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just pump the brakes, you know, or come to a compromise. Compromise is always good too.
Yeah,
for sure.
What's your morning routine looking like?
Ooh, my morning routine. What it was looking like.
Yeah, tell me what it was and then what it is now.
Okay, so January 1st, I wake up at 5 a.m. This is every day actually. I wake up at 5 a.m. I gotta do some stretches. I do have a bad back, so you know you'll see me doing some yoga in the morning. Got my yoga mat laid out. Can't do anything because as soon as I hit the downward dog, the dogs start barking and licking my face. So that's not fun. But yeah, no, just trying to get some movement in the morning. Jumping jacks and push-ups. Pretty much that's it. You know, I'll do that in the morning. Brush my teeth, wash my face, put on a cup of coffee. Recently been, you ever heard of mushroom coffee?
I heard of it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Product placement. saw some IG ads and yeah, man, got hooked. It was funny. My sister had told me about it, and then I had mentioned it to Tristan, and I kid you not, it just something just triggered the algorithm.
Always, man.
Now I'm just getting ads on this, and of course I got to go get it now, right? It's good though. It's one of those things where I think it might be psychosomatic, but I'm all like, oh, I feel really alert, and yeah, no, that's been kind of the sub instead of coffee for the last couple of weeks. But yeah, man, I think again with these changes going on at work, like I've just been so exhausted in the morning, haven't been doing that routine, and it kind of been throwing me off. You know, it's important to have, I think, a morning and night routine, mainly just for the discipline of going through the act of something, whether it's making your bed, whether it's, you know, picking out your clothes, you know, the night before, whether it's, you know, packing your lunch, you know, eating breakfast, whatever it is, whatever you want to do. I think it's important to kind of have some type of routine to get your day started. Yeah.
100% agreed.
Yeah. This is a good one. Actually, I didn't ask you this last time we talked, but what did you want to be when you were younger? What did you want to be when you grew up?
That's hard, man. I didn't really. Actually, you know what? When I was a kid, there wasn't much in my mind to like, in terms of like, oh, what I want to do. Yeah. I wasn't too influenced on a lot of things, or I wasn't grasped by one big thing. Yeah. Later down the road, when I started helping my dad with worship, like playing instruments and stuff like that. That's all I wanted to grow up. I told God, I was like, okay, I don't care where you put me. Like, this is what I want to do. If you just provide a house, like a roof over my head, and that's it. Like, I don't need much.
Yeah.
That's what I told him. And that was always my dream growing up. It's tough because when in my church, you kind of want to almost, you just want to be loyal to where you grew up and
Sure,
you know what I mean?
sure.
I have the skill sets to go somewhere else and get paid for it.
Yeah.
And get, compensated and really make a career out of it. There's a lot of places, not a lot, but there's places here and on the mainland that needed that, or that need that. But, with myself, I don't know, I just didn't want to, I felt like I was just called to stay in my church.
Yeah.
And really to just lead there and yeah, just, I don't know, just be faithful there, for some reason.
Sure.
And I love my church. The thing with, and that dream kind of died almost because I was just like, okay, if we're not going to get, paid for it or compensated for it, then I'm totally fine. Like, that's cool. Cause I know and this is what I realized later down the road when that dream kind of was out in the woods somewhere.
Right.
And I've been blessed like in so many different ways that I would feel greedy getting that dream if I wanted it, and if that makes sense.
That does. Well, when you think about your current occupation and I think you've been able to kind of infuse, something you're passionate about, which is, videography, photography and whatnot. Like, at what point in your life did you kind of discover this is what you wanted to do right now?
Yeah. So I think when that praise and worship leader, worshiper thing kind of faded almost, then I got into, I've always loved video and all that stuff, and decided, okay, this is probably something I should do because, you enjoy it. You always want to make your passion your income, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah? But that's when I started realizing, okay, this is probably good for a career in a sense. And so, that's kind of where the dream is right now. And as you get older, you pivot and you just organically grow. And now, what I want to do, and the more I discover myself, is that I like seeing people happy and really being just genuinely happy for other people. So, and I want to do that with whatever skill set that I have, whether it's with music or video, small businesses, small wins here and there. Yeah, that's just my thing, bro.
I wonder, like, if you think about people's life's path, like, if it ever gets to a point where if you feel like, hey, I'm able to take care of all the obligations that I have, now is the time that I want to focus on this dream or whatnot, and I always often think of people that, maybe go to school for a new career, after they've retired, or, they go to some type of vocation, right? Where they're like, I always wanted to do this. Yeah. I'm gonna learn how to be a pilot at the age of 50 or whatever, right? But it's interesting to think about, you have your obligations and then you have your passions, right? And again, if you can find a way to blend both of them, oh my God, that's the best. But yeah, I mean, I always wonder, like, when I retire, what am I going to do?
It's funny because, like, to me, life is such a game where there's no rules and like, you really got to find a way to make it work. Yeah. And it's like when I think of the game, now that this dream has passed and now I'm doing something else, I wouldn't have been able to purchase certain equipment back in the day. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure I could have made ways to do it, but I just didn't do it. Yeah. But you take what you can and you make the best out of what you got. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Where would you never visit, even if you were paid $1 million?
Oh man, where would I never visit? Shoot, man. That's a good question. I mean, I would love to travel the world. Yeah, I would absolutely love to see every single part of the world. There are certain areas that are definitely more dangerous than others. Right. I'm fascinated by the Middle East. I'm fascinated by the people. I'm fascinated by their culture, their belief system. I like, it's intriguing to me. I have a personal interest in what happens over there, and it's heartbreaking what is happening over there. That's someplace I would avoid. Not because of any type of anything outside from the fact that I don't believe it's safe for people to be there.
Yeah.
Which is why my heart breaks for people that live in the area that are being impacted and affected, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the one area that I would avoid at this point. Or, you know, the caveat to that, you know, I oftentimes think of places that would be very fascinating to visit that might just be maybe too heavy on the heart as well. You know, like seeing people live in poverty in like third world countries. You know, I think it's good in the sense that you need to see things and absorb things to be able to be empathetic to what people go through. But there are times where I just might not have the strength to kind of take all that in, if that makes sense, right?
For sure. Yeah.
You know, there's certain other areas of the country as well, of the world as well, where I don't know if I'd be able to kind of see people living in those conditions, you know, and it's not to turn a blind eye. I don't know if I personally have it in me to kind of just spend the time there and then just go back to my, jump on a plane and jump back, you know, go home to my home and relax in air conditioning and watch TV on my big screen TV. You know, it's just those things. Sometimes maybe you're forced to experience them. So you, again, are a little bit more conscious of what happens in the world. But I think that would probably be my broad stroke answer. I
think even when we're talking about like Big Island and traveling the world and having those perspectives, it's really good to travel.
It is, man. You know, you got to see how people live, you know, because they're not so different than you and I. I think we have this idea that everybody is so unique, and we are in our own right, but you know, inherently we're all human, right? So
to flip the question, where is the one place you would love to go right now?
Right now, Iceland or Copenhagen. I mean, easy answer. I mean, you know, I think that part of the world really fascinates me as well. The food scene seems amazing out there. Everybody seems to be very happy. You know, beautiful. It's an incredible, just the landscape there is just incredible and gorgeous. And I believe it or not, I like the weather. So, you know, I'd kind of be interested to see how it is out there. But that's something that Tristan and I have kind of tossed around, the idea of going up to either Iceland or Copenhagen.
Yeah, Iceland sounds super fun. That place is like one of those places where if you just bust out a camera and you take a photo, it just automatically looks good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Japan.
There you go.
Japan, like the lighting's just super nice all the time. And Iceland's definitely on the list.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. You guys planning this?
We'll see how it goes, you know. I think the one trip we're probably going to do this year is East Coast. I think I talked about it before, but we're going to try to make a New York trip happen. But I mean, definitely in the cards in the next couple of years for sure.
Yay.
Yeah. All right, man. What is one idea that you think the majority of people get wrong about you?
I think I have things in the past that I know I've been through and that made me that I didn't feel good about. And I think a lot of people would think that I'm kind of like mostly good.
Okay.
Which for the most part kind of is, but then I've done things in the past where I've where I think people would be like, that's kind of crazy that
out of character.
Out of character. Yeah. And it's it's been some journey. There's some things that was out of character for me, and I think I mentioned in the past where it's like there's this line where there's good and bad, right? And for me, I don't think people realize how hard that fight is for me.
Okay.
But because I try to stay on the good all the time, which for the most part I feel like it's pretty good, but then the bad is like so extreme, like when it happens. It's I don't think people realize that about my internal
Sure.
internal fight for good and evil, I guess.
It's a struggle, absolutely.
Yes, I think that's one thing people might not understand. It's because I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And maybe maybe that's what a therapist will help unveil or put to surface. But I feel like that's for myself. Yeah, sorry, I'm just like trying to draw a picture and like how that looks like.
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, to reiterate, there's an internal battle in my head of just representing good values and the character of God, if that makes sense. But I don't say that to people. It's just kind of my internal thing. Like, and then just it's so nuts because that internal fight is so. It's daily. It's like every day, every decision I make. These days everything is intentional for me.
Sure.
And I always talk to Josh, or when I tell Josh things, sometimes I have to put in whatever statement I put in. I just say like #reasons, just so she knows that there's a specific reason why I do something.
Sure.
It's so subtle. No one's gonna know unless they're the same type of person that I am, where maybe like, let's just say I opened the door prior to something else, whereas whatever option it is, there's like subtle things like that. There's a reason why I did it. And then sometimes it gets so heavy to me that people don't understand. So when I do it to Joss and she doesn't understand why, like I have to playfully say #reasons,
right?
Just so she understands, like that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
But every decision I make, it's like, why? For example, when I was putting the equipment in the car, why did I put one part in the trunk and one part in the backseat? It's because this reason. Just little things like that. But that ties into like that internal fight, and I feel like navigating my life helps that.
Got it.
Helps that fight, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
So to translate it in real life, I'll try to set myself up so I don't fall into these things. Yeah. So sorry, that was kind of
no. That makes sense. That makes sense. Absolutely.
Right now, what is your proudest accomplishment?
Proudest accomplishment. Let's see here. Proudest accomplishment. I think getting I think my finances are probably in the best spot it's been in a minute. Yeah, man. I mean, I had a goal for myself, and I'm not going to throw out numbers and flex here, but I had a goal in mind of I wanted to get my credit score to a certain number, and I was able to hit that goal. And it's just a number, but it's not, unfortunately, right? If you know how credit works and if you know how banks work, it's not just a number. So for me to kind of be able to achieve that goal and maintain it, it's been good. So I think that's probably the most recent goal for me. And then another one too is just, really taking the time to stay connected with my family. My family and I are extremely close. I mean, I'm pretty sure anybody that knows me can attest to that. But making sure that I'm talking to them every other day. That we're seeing each other as much as we can. My sister and my niece are going to be flying in very soon, and they're going to be staying with us, and that's really important to me. And even though it's going to be within the span of weeks, we're going to be flying up there so that I can spend some time with my niece on her birthday and things like that. People ask all the time, like, why do you guys only go to Colorado? Why do you not go anywhere else? If you guys take all these trips, you always go to Colorado, and it's to spend time with my family, man. I think it's been a goal of mine to just really make memories, and I think we've been able to do that together as a family. And I think just financially we're in a good spot. So again, that kind of helps out with that. So those are the two right now.
When it comes to your first accomplishment, why do you think schools don't teach that, the financial? I remember there was one elective with like, but it wasn't like applicable. I don't remember. But why do you think schools don't teach that?
I mean, I could go deep.
Deep dive. Welcome to Deep Dive, guys.
Yeah, man. both of my parents are educators, and I will say that, the education system, it was written not with it wasn't written for every type of student, if that makes sense. There are people that have limited opportunities and resources, and there are people that have an abundance of them. I think for the greater good, I would assume curriculum is created for the majority, but again, there are going to be people that are just going to be left out. People don't always have financial acumen, and they don't write that into the curriculum because there's just this assumption that, hey, you know what, you'll figure it out. Your family, there's this assumption that your family, has figured out their finances and you will figure out your finances. But some people don't really have that luxury. Some kids, they might be too young to learn these things, but maybe their parents or their parents' haven't even figured it out. So how can we just assume that, these guys are going to be okay? Yeah. So I think it is important. But yeah, I mean, it is systemic in that sense, where I think a lot of times when we think about the way things are created and written, it's not for everyone. Yeah, it's not a universal theme at all. So I'm hoping that, that's something they look into a little bit more, because financial literacy is huge, man. It's super important. Again, I'm only 45 years old and I'm just figuring it out now. So anybody that's, struggling at the moment, you'll get past it. I mean, you got to just prioritize, sacrifice, and really just make decisions that are gonna push you forward and not push you backward. But it took me a lot of struggles to get there. Absolutely. So yeah, again, anybody that's struggling with that currently, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You got to just make some tough decisions sometimes. Yeah.
There's a audiobook that I've read, it's called Hidden Potential.
Okay.
And it talks about like the school system in, I think it was Scandinavia or something.
Interesting.
And we were wondering, there's a competition. It wasn't big, but it got like, I think it was like the best high school or something like that with several countries.
Okay.
And for like, everyone was surprised because it wasn't Japan or wasn't India or wasn't the States. It was, I forgot what country it was, but it was in Scandinavia. And they won twice in a row.
Really? Interesting.
And so they were like, hey, what's going on here? Do we not have the best educators or whatever it is? And so they started they started researching why. And one of the things that contributed to that was their teachers. They have a system up there, but their teachers, they stay with, and this is regards to like everyone having a different learning system or, figuring out how this person progresses. The teachers normally stay with the students or that same class for like 4 years in elementary. And they do it like they continue that pattern.
The value of building that relationship.
Yeah. And it goes in depth of other things that they do to like to build their desire to learn or to read. One example is that they don't tell the people, the teachers there realize that they shouldn't be telling the students what to read, but they let the other students talk about the book so that other students will get more hyped. Because apparently they listen to their peers. They're more interested in their peers versus the teacher telling them.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So little things like that. But I was just thinking about like the education system and what you mentioned about, everyone has a different learning style.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was super cool.
That is a good one. That's a good one. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I feel like I was an extrovert before.
Okay.
But mostly introvert. Mostly introvert. I think someone mentioned back in the day, you'll find out is that the way you find out if you're an extrovert or introvert is where do you get your energy from? Is it from being alone or is it being with people?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I thought, that's a pretty good way to put it.
Okay, so as a performer, I've always found this fascinating when you hear about like actors or musicians or people that are on stage or in front of people where they can be an extrovert for a period of time.
Yeah.
But like in their personal life, they're very introverted. Like they're very, maybe closed off, or not even just closed off. They might just really value time that solace to themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was fascinating. You know, for you being a musician, being able to get on a microphone and sing in front of people, like how do you get that energy if you consider yourself an introvert?
Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking about it now, and in my Myers-Briggs test, which we got to get you on, it's actually extroverts.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to think now, okay, maybe I am, or I still don't know.
Sure.
I got to retake that test, but I don't know. Even like performing, I don't know how much that would play in or influence a performer. I'm sure it does. For me, I don't know. I think the initial going up on stage, setting up your guitar, singing the first few, getting your feet wet, I guess.
Okay.
That's kind of like the more nervous portion of it. After that, it's just like, no one's really listening, or, you know what I mean? Then you just go on with the show or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think it might be extrovert. I don't know, bro. For me, if I am extrovert, I'm probably like the less vocal of them.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do like including everybody. Like if we're in a small group or whatever. In fact, this was one of the descriptions of the Myers-Briggs test is that you like to include people in the conversation. So like,
interesting.
So let's say if you're in a group with like 4 people and you guys are hanging out talking about whatever it is, the game or music, whatever, this person and one person hasn't spoken a word.
Yeah.
At some point, my personality is going to be like, oh, so what about you, Jeff?
What
What do you think? Yeah. That's me. That's kind of my thing. So I don't know if that falls into extrovert or introvert, but I might be a half breed. What about you?
Interesting. Definitely, yeah, man. I guess I'm a mix.
Yeah, right.
And it sounds funny to say it depends on the day, but it depends on the day. You know, like I love being around other people. You know, I find a lot of enjoyment when I'm spending time with people that I care about, friends and family. I definitely enjoy the energy from a crowd. But there are times where it also brings me a little sense of anxiety too, you know? So, I talked about how I decompress, watching TV by myself on the couch. And, I really do enjoy my days off when I can just hang out at home. Sometimes people are like, hey, you want to go do this? I'm like, nah. I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't, And the funny thing about it is once you get me out of the house, I have a great time.
Yeah,
I do. But the idea of going, getting ready, preparing myself, and then the act of, it's always just like something that I don't look forward to until I'm actually doing it. And then I'm like, okay, that was a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, but another interesting thing too. Like, so I went to karaoke the other week, and I can't sing. I definitely can't sing, but I don't like singing in front of people. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Okay, so a room full of 8 people, I can't pick up the microphone and sing. But I have no problem spilling my guts on this thing, and I maybe only 8 people listen to this, if that. But like that doesn't even factor in to me. Like I don't know if a true introvert would be able to express themselves so freely. So I think it is a little bit of both, and it kind of depends on the day and the mood for me.
Yeah. I've always I always thought Josh was a extrovert.
Okay,
because every time we're out with people, she's great at communicating and having having a good time and keeping that good flow. But I talked to her and she was like, no, I'm an introvert. Like when I get home, I just want to read books and just stay. Like, and I was like, that's so weird because it makes me think that you enjoy she's like, I do, but I'd rather be home.
They call it, social battery, right? So your social battery will drain, and then you gotta rejuvenate it by spending some independent time alone. Tristan's the same way. Like she'll I don't want to say put on a show. That's the wrong word for it. But she can move in any crowd. She's phenomenal with groups of people, and she is. She's her. She's hilarious. She can kind of command the room. That's just her personality. But a lot of people don't realize that when she's at home, all she wants to do is just sit on the couch and hang out. Just being next to a dog for her is just her idea of really recharging, and that's what she loves and looks forward to more than anything else.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you first meet Tris? Actually,
from work, man. Honestly, from work. We met through work. did not, just acquaintances, honestly. Hi, bye, hello, how's your day going? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then we weren't working together, and at the time when we first met, I was in a really, really serious relationship, and I went through that relationship for years, and then when that relationship ended, kind of found myself in a spot where I just didn't know what I didn't know what I don't know what my next steps were. And I kind of stayed in that for a minute. I was kind of in limbo, and I'm not saying everybody needs to be in a relationship. That's not everybody's path at all. But for me, it wasn't a comfortable situation. I always just felt like my life is better with a companion, and yeah, it was just funny because just kind of living single for a minute, just kind of not without a purpose, and it just kind of serendipitously happened, if that makes sense. Is that the right word?
Could be. It is now.
Yeah, it is now. Hey, man. Yeah. But yeah, just kind of reconnected. Social media, man. Instagram. I think I saw an Instagram story that she had posted, and again, she's hilarious. I thought it was really funny. So of course I commented, and then it kind of just went back and forth from there. And it was really funny because it took a very long time of just kind of talking back and forth to even meet up with her. And I think she just she had apprehensions, like okay. I think she thought I was a nice guy, but she didn't know anything about me.
Yeah.
And I think all she could really do was have people that knew us in common vouch for me.
Yeah.
So when we actually met, we went to a movie, and she'll tell everybody it wasn't a date. It was a date. It was a date.
Bro.
I remember we went to a movie that I thought was like, she loves horror. So I took her to what I believe was going to be a horror movie. It's called It Comes at Night, A24 movie. I got to watch it again because it was a weird one, and it wasn't a horror movie. It was more of a psychological thriller. And after we finished watching, she was like, what was that? And I was like, oh, I blew it. I blew it. I hyped this movie up, and I blew it. I was like, she's going to get scared. And yeah, I don't know. So anyway, after that, we just kept talking, man. And, I think we really just enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed each other's company, and just realized that, something was happening there. And, it was very much an organic relationship. And it's really cool when you kind of get to a point, if you've ever been in a long-term relationship and it ends, and you think like, I don't know if I ever feel that way again. And then when you find it again, and then it's even surpasses what you thought it could be. Yeah. It's just the best feeling in the world. And that's where I'm at, she's my wife. I knew very early on of spending time with her that we were going to be together, and we were going to definitely get married. That was something that I just had in my head, and I'm just glad it worked out that way. Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. You know what's hilarious?
What is that?
Is that I remember working that shift with you.
Oh, for real?
Yo. I remember asking J.O. guys, I was like, oh yeah, so what you doing tonight? Oh, just gonna catch a movie with a friend. And I was like, oh, you going? He's like, oh, my friend Tris. And I was like, oh, she's a firecracker though.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I remember. And the only reason why I remember it was because, oh, shoot, maybe J.O. took that the wrong way.
No, man. No.
But I remember I remember that conversation, bro. Yep. Yeah, that was so funny.
Good times. Do you remember the best year of your life?
In a quick scan, it would be the year that I got married.
Okay.
Only because it represented a lot of things and a lot of a new season, I guess, and a new version, I guess. It was kind of like the start of really who I thought I should be when I was younger.
Yeah.
And going back to that fight for, good values and not, I was just kind of tippy-toeing between each, one. And I think when I got married, that's when I was like all in terms of, just being who I thought I was meant to be, and who I thought I envisioned myself as. And of course, there's a lot of things I need to work on, as everyone does. But for the most part, these days, I like to think that year and that start of the marriage really propelled me to who I am. I think I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, man. 5 years, right?
5 years. Yeah,
Hey, man.
yeah.
Awesome.
And then when, I think you just get refined each time, put through the fire, refine each. It's a process of refinement. Yeah.
There you go.
But 2018, yeah. We'll close off with a little bit more, bro.
Yep.
But what should a healthy friendship look like?
Healthy friendship. Let's see here. Healthy friendship should be based off of just the idea that your friendship shouldn't be based on your proximity, if that makes sense. If you have what I mean by that is if you have a friendship that's really contingent on you just spending every moment you have with that person, I don't think that's necessarily healthy. I'm not saying it's not a good friendship, but I don't know if it's the healthiest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good.
You have people that just like they need to just be attached to the hip physically, or if not, verbally, like constant communication. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's, sometimes when you're younger, sometimes that's like, that's my best friend. I need to tell them everything. I need to see them.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that, real friendships kind of don't need proximity at all. I think about my best friend Kaha, and he and I, like, we'll see each other maybe once a month.
Yeah.
He's got a taxing work schedule. I got a taxing work schedule. We both have very, independent lives. We have a lot of commitments to other people that we have, to take care of. But there'll be times when we cross over, but there's just really no lapse.
Yeah.
It's, I think a healthy friendship is one that you can pick up at any point.
Yeah.
And realize that, hey, if I haven't talked to somebody in 3 weeks, even if I haven't talked to them in a couple of months, like when I pick up that phone or I get that text message, we can pick up and we realize like, hey, it's all good. Life happens.
Yeah.
And then you have things to talk about from there. So as I get older, I'm realizing that's what's healthy. But also just respect, man, like respect the idea that people have their life happening as well. Sometimes things that go on in your life doesn't necessarily intersect with what's happening with your friendship. And sometimes people think to themselves like, hey, I need to include this person in everything that goes on in my life. And you are entitled to your own personal life as is your friend. And they should be able to respect that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's solid. Because that's one of the things I always tell my friends, like, yeah, we could be. It's funny because my friend that's now a flight attendant.
Yep.
We actually spend more time now than we did when he was living here, which is weird.
Yeah.
But going back to distance things, like, you said it perfectly, man. Like any distance or even time, almost even time. Yep. For the most part, you guys can just hang out and then it's like nothing ever happened.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a good call, bro.
Yeah, man. This one's kind of funny. What's the spiciest opinion that you have? I like the word there, spicy.
Spiciest opinion, or
yeah.
I'll tell you what. The first thing that came in my head was
go ahead.
Taper your pants.
Hey, man, that can be spicy. That can be spicy. Not everybody knows how to dress.
Yeah. That might be it. I don't know. Spiciest opinion. I'm a man of few words, bro. I don't right now off the top of my head. It's nothing's popping out.
Yeah.
There's I don't know. It could come back to bad drivers.
Okay.
Okay. Along those lines.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got you. I hear you.
Oh, but I don't know. Do you have one off the top of your head?
It's not really an opinion, but I when I think about just how hypersensitive we have become as a culture, I do believe that there are certain things that are just not worth canceling people over.
Oh, sure.
And I think because we are such a cancel happy culture. There are things absolutely deserve that, but there are other things that people don't really allow for growth and learning. You know what I mean? Like just because somebody said some wild stuff on Twitter 10 years ago doesn't mean they're the same person or hold the same values or same beliefs. So I think people got to kind of have some context and put that in check. I think a lot of times we're so quick to point the finger and people forget like, hey, you've probably said some things and done some things you're not so proud of as well.
Yeah.
And again, you got to really put perspective on that, because you could say you could have killed somebody 10 years ago, and been
Right.
there is a fine line there, but at the same time, people change, man. People change, opinions change for better and worse.
Right,
And
right.
a lot of it just depends on your life scenario at the moment. So yeah, I think it's not a spicy opinion, but I do think that we really need to kind of come back to a place of understanding.
Yeah.
I think that's how we propel ourselves, forward, going
Right.
forward. Because right now I think we're moving backwards pretty rapidly.
I think of this persona of the people that are within that culture, and I'm just like, if you're quick to point something out,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be friends with you.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I'm just like, yo, if this is how you're acting, I mean, every situation different, and
Yes,
but for the most part, from the things that I've seen being canceled, I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna go now.
well, I mean, it's easy. It's so easy to judge people. It's the easiest thing you can do. But I think it's so much harder to take a step back and pause, and really analyze the situation and make an educated decision for yourself. I think when you rely too heavily on social media, or what the news is telling you, or anything like that, it gets to a point where you're not having your own opinion on things, right?
Yes.
So, and a lot of times, if you really took a step back and hit the pause button, you'd really be like, well, wait a second, like, I can see where they were coming from, or maybe I don't see where they're coming from, but these points are valid, or maybe it's like I don't agree at all, but that's their opinion, what I mean? Like, or so I think we're kind of at that point in the timeline where people kind of just jump to conclusions because it's the thing to do, and I'm really hoping again that we really take the time as a society to really just put things in perspective, and decide for ourselves, like, is this something that is this something that is forgivable? Is this something that
Right.
somebody's learned from? Is this something that somebody's grown from? Is this something that I did myself and I'm being a hypocrite right now?
Yeah.
So
It's funny because like the judging thing, I just judge somebody based off of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I did realize Josh and I had a fight. I'm gonna close this off.
Yeah.
But Josh and I had a fight, not a fight, a conversation, which made me realize, like, I should have been more inquisitive of your position on this statement, because I didn't realize there's a deeper meaning to what she was trying to tell me.
Absolutely.
And I said, Hannah, I'm sorry. I should have been more curious earlier on the conversation.
Sure.
And that's why I realized, I was like, okay, man, I gotta ask that more often, because I have things in my head where I know what is right and I know what I feel like. But when you're saying this thing, there's missing information that I needed to understand you.
Yep.
And so that's why I realized, I thought, shoot, I'm sorry, hun, I gotta do a better job of being curious earlier on the fight or the conversation. Yeah, so like you said, I think we just got to be more understanding and curious.
There you go.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, man.
This was a rapid fire, get to know us kind of vibes today. But thank you for listening. And what is it, an hour? Yo, if you've been listening this far, we appreciate you guys. And look out for the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Peace.
Peace.